Alright, on to the third video in this series. We're going to make the main menu. So before we start, make sure that you have the assets that we talked about earlier. So I've got this folder called Asset Tracking, and in there I have two different color palettes because I can't decide which one I like the best, and I'm going to try them both. I have my main menu art, the store page where I got it, and the license for that. And I have my music as an MP3, the store page, and again the license. Again, I don't know if it's just because I was, hammered when I started my business with that $1,000 from Getty or what it was, but that stuff always freaks me out. All right, so I'm going to open up the hub. Come on, Unity. All right, we're going to do a new project. And I'm going to use version 2021.3.30, and I'm going to go to 2D Core, and I'm going to save this as top-down project, send it to my projects folder, and I'll do it under Patchy Drizzle. All right, create, boom, and wait. All right, give that a minute to fire off. All right, there's my project. I like to move the hierarchy over here to the right and close some space up. And I always like the transition tools up here. All right, and then some prep work. I like to go to the asset folder and create some extra folders. One for scripts. And all right. That's what I like about these newer versions of Unity. Like everything you do, like it has to think about it. I want one for prefabs. Oh my gosh. Spelling is hard. And let's do some art. And one more for audio. All right, and then first thing I'm going to do is go to my folders. I'm going to go to my art folder, and then in there, I'm going to make another folder because I'm going to have a bunch of different kind of arts. And this is going to be title, background. And in here, I'm going to drag my art in there. And then I'm going to go to my audio folder, and that one I'm not going to get too crazy with. I'm just going to pop stuff in there. I can have a whole bunch of music, and I'm going to grab that, drag it in, and wait. If your sound file is something else, it's not something that Unity is native to or can use, like an MP3 or something like that. I've had students grab stuff from like OBS, and then obviously it comes out in a different format. There's a program called Audacity that's free to use, and you can use that. And then basically you just re-record the audio or the music or whatever it is, and then you just export as, or you can open it up in Audacity and then just export it as, so you don't have to really record it. All right, so that's all there is for the prep. So now we're going to put everything together. When you're doing a main menu, everything is going to be part of like a user interface. And the user interface resides on a canvas. So here in my hierarchy, just in the gray area, right click, UI, and scroll. Let's see if I can make this so you can actually shows up. Nope, and there's an option for canvas at the very bottom. So you want that canvas. So again, all the UI elements are going to live on the canvas. And the canvas is kind of bigger than the camera. I don't know why it displays this way, but think of it as a cover or a lens that goes on top of the camera. And then anything that you paint on that lens then obviously would show up in the camera. Okay, you also get this event system with that. We're not going to really use that, but you can't turn it off because that's actually the functionality for the buttons. I've had students like, we never use that, so I'm just going to turn that off. And then their buttons didn't work, and they're like, oh. So that's like some of the functionality for the canvas options. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is put our background image on there. So you're going to go to the canvas. You're going to right-click, and you're going to do UI. And we want, let's do image. And we're going to call this background. Ooh, let's do title. background. Or menu background. Let's do that. That probably makes more sense. You can tell I'm doing all the stuff on the fly. All right, and then we've got this source slot, and that's where we can kind of put in our picture. Drag that in, and you can either drag it in that way. Everything in Unity you can do at least 2 ways. Or I can hit the little radio button and find it there. All right, and then if I go to game, well, that's not really that good. All right, so now we need to adjust that. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on the canvas and take a look. And then don't be afraid to touch some different things. So I'm going to go to the menu and preserve aspect. And again, that just changes the aspect. So it's like, you know, widescreen. Then I'm set native size. And ooh, that kind of worked really well. And we take that aspect off. What other options can we do? Simple, filled. Let's just do simple. All right, so now I'm going to zoom out. And I'm going to grab these corners and I'm going to fill in to the canvas. And then if I go to my game view, this is what we're going to see in the game through the camera. And then this is what we have to work with. So now I can grab that and I'm all set. And that image is just like, it's just amazing that you can get this for free. So Justin Nickel, you're the man. All right, one of the reasons I picked this image is I got so much space over here where I can put my buttons. So first we're going to add a title. So again, I'm going to go to Canvas, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to do UI and Text Mesh Pro. And that's going to give us this little box. I'm going to move it over here and kind of spread it out because this is going to be my title. And I don't know what we're going to call this game. Ooh, let me move this back over. So the first time you add something from Text Mesh Pro, you're going to have to import the essentials. And I'm going to hit that. And this will take a minute or two. You do not need the extras. But now you can see the text kind of shows up. And you'll need a title for your game. And again, you can always change this. I'm going to call mine the Pooter Shooter. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I fat fingered it. And I have no idea if that's how you spell pooter. Alright, and then if I scroll down here in the text, there's alignment. There it is, way down there. So I'm going to do center and center. And then I can, with the font, you can either type stuff in there, or you can see how when I've moved to the left of it, I get these little arrows. So now I can kind of grab those and drag, and I can make the font bigger so it kind of fills that. And then I'm going to move the text. I'm going to change the name of that to title text so I know what it does. I'm going to grab my transition and maybe move it there. I don't want it to get in the way of the cool robot thing. If I go to my game view, that's what it's going to look like. Nice. Again, you can always come back and rename your game if you get halfway through and you come up with some other cool name. No big deal. Make sure you understand the canvas draws stuff in the order from the top down. So if I were to take this title text and move it behind, so it's drawn first and then the menu's drawn, obviously I can't see my text. So you need to make sure you're solid with the order of these things. It's going to draw the background first, and then it's going to draw the title on top of that, and then whatever else is down. So you get the idea. All right, now we're going to add some buttons. So I'm going to go to my canvas, and I'm going to right-click, UI, and Button, Text Mesh Pro. Then I'm going to move this over here. And I'm going to adjust the size of that. So we're going to work on one at a time. So here's this first one, and we're just going to call this the play button. And so I've got the button there. I think I'm going to be okay because I need to get 3 more underneath there, so I got to make sure it's not too big. And again, you can go to the height and width and do it this way, and I can do 150, and I think 30 is good. Or again, I like to use the transition tool sometimes. All right, now each button you add has a child object called text, and that's where we can change the text. So down here in the input, we're going to say play game. And we're going to make sure that our font is big enough to fit that. That will be a little bit big. There we go. Let's say that. And again, if I go to my game view, I can kind of see it. That's actually pretty cool. And then you can change the color of the text. I can go to the button itself. Now, with the button, you've got some options. You have a normal color of the button. So if I go in here and change it to green, the button is green. I have a highlighted color when I put the mouse over it. To show and that's what we call affordance. You're showing the player that it's a button and they can press it because it changes color when the mouse goes over it. And then there's one for pressed color, like if I press it, like it'll blink a new color showing that they actually pressed that button. All right, now here is where your color palette comes into play. So I'm going to open up my color palette. And I think I'm going to go with this one. And you want more of a darker color for the button and a lighter color for the text, or you can always use white. So I think I'm going to go with this blue, or maybe this green. Yeah, let's go with this green. So I'm going to write down this code here, this hexadecimal value. So I wrote down this green and then this kind of beige. Is that sage? All right, and then I'm going to go back to my button, and I'm going to click on the button. And when this little palette comes up, down here we can put that hexadecimal value in there. So I'm going to do 3D7068 and hit enter. And then that's kind of like the sage, or the dark green. And then if I go to the text, I can actually go to the text color, bring this over and type in the beige, which was C0BDA5. I don't know if I'm a big fan of that. I do kind of like the green. I might just make the text white so it kind of pops. Let's move that to the top corner. And again, whatever color you do, if you just move this to the top corner, it'll be as white as possible. So I think I like that. And that green kind of goes in with everything else. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, now I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. And now that I have my first button, I'm going to grab that first button and click on it, and I'm going to hit Control and D. So I'm going to hold Control down and hit the D key, and that's going to create me a duplicate. And then I'm going to grab my transition tool, and I'm going to move that down. And then I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to say, hey, this is going to be the settings button. And we'll do that next time or next week or whatever it is. And go to the text, and I'm going to change this to settings. And you can move it down by hand like I did, or you can always just change one of the positions. So if I go here, you can see I went from 78 to 6. Actually, let's make that 8. So now we have a solid 70 between settings. So if I go from 78 to 8, I can take 8 and minus 70 and then put the next one down if I needed to. Or I can just do another Control D, and now I have that new one. I'm going to change this to minus, what is that, 62? Yeah. And then I'm going to change that to the credits button, because I want to give credit to all those cool, wonderful people that made this possible by providing free assets. And I'm going to that text, change this to credits. Oh, do not put that extra enter there at the end, or obviously it pops your text up. And then I need one more. So now I'm at minus 62, so then I need to add 70 to that. So I'm going to click on credits, hold Control and D. And then this new one, I'm going to minus 132. And now they're all equally spaced apart. And this is going to be the quit button. And then but that way all your text fonts are all the same, everything, the spacing is all the same, and everything looks good. So here's our main menu now. So we're getting really close. All right, so I'm gonna go back in here, and now I'm gonna go back to my buttons. And there we go. So the highlighted color, like when we put the mouse over that, that's where I'm gonna use that beige. And I'll show you what this looks like. So if I go into the game, and I put the mouse over it, oh, I gotta hit play. You see how it changes? That's the highlighted color. So again, it shows the player that they can do something. So now I'm going to do that same thing. Let me grab that color and copy that. And then go to settings and Control V and credits. Control V and quit. Control V. All right, and now they should all work like that. Nice. All right, now we needed to come up with a color for when they're pressed. And for me, I'm going to use this one, 875053. And I'm going to copy that, Control C, and go to play, click, and paste. Settings, click, and paste. Credits, click, and paste. And that was already on there. Good. So now if I hit. So now when I cover them, or if I press, so there's an indicator that something happened. So again, that's a affordancy when you're showing the player they can do something. So like if you've ever played Ark and you go up to a rock and it says, press E to pick up or something like that. Again, that's another example of affordance. All right, so I'm done playing with those buttons, so I can close that stuff up now. All right, now I want to get some background music. So I'm just going to go here to the gray, and this can be, again, it's going to be its own object. And I'm going to create empty, and I'm just going to call this music player. And I don't know, I always like a space, I don't know why. All right, and that music player is going to have an audio source. Audio source. And then I'm going to go to my audio, and I'm going to grab my background music and pop that in, play on awake, and loop. And if I hit play, my background music plays. So I'm going to shut that off, and I'm going to change that volume down a little bit. Maybe because again, I just want background music. Let's do 0.50 and see if that's a little bit lower. Yeah, much better. So that's going to be playing. Now, here's where things get kind of weird or tricky. All right, so in our settings menu, we're going to have a setting for master volume or background music, and then a setting for the sound effects, and then we're going to have like a master volume, duh. So I'm going to go to audio, and you can right-click, create audio mixer, or you can do window audio mixer. Again, there's always at least two ways to do these things. All right, so then under mixers, we're going to hit the little plus button, and we're going to add a master. And this is going to be our master, like that controls everything. I'm going to bring this up a little bit so we can see the whole thing. There are a ton, if you're into sound, like there's a ton of stuff you can do with these audio mixers that I don't really get into. I just play them with the volume and that's it. All right, and then from the master, if you select the master, we can add another one. And I'm going to call this background music. and then click on Master again and hit another one, and then we can add sound effects. And I don't know why I never put that space in there. All right, so now we have a master control that'll control everything, and then we have background and sound effects. So if I go to my music player, I can actually click this little button here, and I can add the background music. And then if I play, and then you'll have the edit and play mode. We see sound, and then you see the master will adjust the sound of the music. Or I can just do the music. But sound effects is totally independent. So now I can adjust those separately, or I can adjust them both at the same time using the master control. So all you have to do with each level is just go to wherever you're playing the music and just assign its output based on either the background or the sound effects, and then you can control both. And then in our settings menu, we'll actually put sliders for both of those. So we'll do one for master. Actually, we'll do 3 sliders, one for all 3. All right, we don't really need to play with the mixers anymore, so I can go back to my project, and I'm actually going to put that in the audio section. And again, you can just drag it. So I have all my audio stuff kind of together. All right, now here's where things get a little funny. So we're working here now on this main menu scene. And then from the main menu, we're going to be able to go to the credits, to the start of the game, or the settings menu. And then from the settings menu, we're only going to be able to go back to main menu. From the game intro, we're going to go into the first level, second level, and that kind of stuff. And then the game actually starts playing. But from credits and setting, we can only go into those from main menu. And then from there, we can only go back out to the main menu. So those are going to be two-way relationships, and then once we go into the game intro, that's going to be a one-way. So we need to kind of like make sure that we understand this, because we're going to have to set all of this up in code here in a little bit. All right, I don't like these things that go over 20 minutes, so I'm going to stop here, and you can decide whether you want to move on to the next video or if you want to take a break. So I'm going to do File, Save, and that'll save my scene. I'm actually going to go here to Scenes, and I'm going to see if I can rename this sample scene, and I'm going to name this Main Menu. Yes. And then now it says Main Menu, so we're all good. And let's save that as well. And I also do save project just for the heck of it. All right, so now you're all set. So I'll see you in the next video.